Okay, you can begin.
Good night, everyone. So my name is Nicola Rahamat, and my group members are Lishon and Tony Marie, and we will be presenting on courage and moral leadership. I now hand you over to Lishon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to share a story with you all, but before I would like to give a brief definition of what courage is. Courage is the ability to do something difficult even when there's risk. Courageous people do and say what they think is right. So there was this four-star general named Eric who served in the military for 38 years. He had to testify about an impending war in Iraq before the U.S. Senate Armed Services Committee. So, in the hearing, he was telling them that, in his opinion, they would need massive manpower to keep the peace in Iraq. He estimated that they would need hundred thousands of soldiers. However, his answer was in direct opposition from what his boss wanted him to say. His boss was the U.S. Secretary of Defense known as Donald. Donald has been working on convincing Congress that the war would require relatively few ground forces, and there was the U.S. Army of Chief Eric telling them that from his experience they would need massive manpower. As a result, the Department of Defense was quick and unforgiving with both Donald and Paul for publicly repudiating Eric's comments about the war. They felt humiliated with Eric's responses and the support that he gained from other members. Both Donald and Paul decided to breach protocol when they didn't attend Eric's ceremony. Eric was retired, well, leaving the job. Later that year, half a dozen of generals expressed doubts of how Donald handled the war and called for him to step down, but only after they had safely retired. And later on that year, Donald had resigned also. Eric had the courage to express his concerns at the beginning of the war despite the potential damage to his career. He stood alone amongst people who ranked higher than him and even against his boss. Eric knew that when there aren't enough soldiers, too many people are going to die. So this story showed that leadership deals less with using other people than with serving other people. It is about placing others above oneself, which is a key success to leadership, whether it be in politics, war, education, sports, social services, or business. The three key points that I would like you all to take away from your story is Eric had the courage to say what he believed, whether people agreed or disagreed. He was willing to disagree with his boss because he felt a moral responsibility to do so, even though it might cause personal suffering to his career. Being a real leader means learning who you are and what you stand for, and then having the courage to act. Leaders demonstrate confidence and commitment in what they believe and what they do. Moral leadership today. Every decade sees its fair share of political, social, and corporate villains. Whatever, sorry, ethical lapses occur at all levels of the organization. However, top leaders face closer scrutiny for unethical and illegal actions. I want to give you all an example. Not only on air. I want to give you all an example. For example, in the political arena, U.S. Representative Mark Foley resigned amid allegations that he engaged in sexually explicit online chats with congressional pages. but the pervasiveness of ethical lapses in recent years has been astounding. Ethical climate in U.S. businesses. Ethical lapses occur at all levels of an organization. However, top leaders face closer scrutiny for unethical and illegal actions. Whatever happens at the top of the organization usually trickles down to the bottom of the organization. Unethical and illegal behavior can cause serious consequences within an organization, such as employees losing trust in leaders, customers losing trust in the organization. These factors can hamper employees' productivity and business sales. Leaders set their standards for ethical climate, and act as a role model for others, bearing in mind that they may face many obstacles that would challenge their day to day decision making. Most people want to be liked and want their organization to be successful, so they act under pressure. This may result in leaders doing whatever it takes to look good in the eyes of others. The most dangerous obstacle for leaders are personal weaknesses and self interest rather than full scale corruption. Factors that influence those decisions are pressure to cut costs, meeting the demands of vendors and business partners, and wanting to look successful to the company and others. The New York Times represents another example of ethical lapses resulting from subtle pressure. So, there was a reporter who was discovered fabricating research on a top story involving a rescue of a female in Iraq. There was said to be indications that the executive knew something but ignored the signs because they didn't want to believe that a reputable newspaper company would be involved in that level of dishonesty and irresponsibility. What leaders do to make things go wrong? Some leaders lack integrity. Integrity means adhering to moral principles and acting on those beliefs. For example, senior executives were openly arrogant and ambitious for personal success, and they blatantly flouted the rules and basic standards of fairness and honor to achieve personal gain. Inappropriate behavior. A leader shows what matters from their behavior. So when they operate from principles of selfishness and greed, employees will see unethical behavior as okay and may follow suit. Focus on gaining benefits for themselves rather than the organization or larger society. For example, top executives who expect huge salaries and perks when the business is struggling financially and laying off workers are not likely to create an environment of trust and integrity. To conclude, acting unethically causes dishonesty with customers, employees, vendors, and shareholders. This often leads to failure of honoring the agreements and commitments to others. Unethical versus ethical behavior. Deals unfairly. So, treating people unfairly basically mean giving promotion based on favoritism and not general work performance. While an ethical leader would strive for fairness, they would give promotion based on performance. Most leaders would shift blame to others. They would take credit when things go right and blame others when things go wrong, whereas an ethical leader would take responsibility regardless. Lacks courage to confront unjust acts. For example, failure to speak on an act that is wrong because they want to fit in or look cool to their colleagues is wrong. If a colleague tells sexually offensive jokes and a leader is supporting this behavior by encouraging it, he or she is setting a precedent. for others to behave unfairly as well. Sometimes it is hard to stand for what is right, but this is a primary way in which leaders create an environment of integrity. However, an ethical leader would show courage and stand for what they think is right. So I would like to play a video for you all based on shifting blame to others.
Can you all hear?
I'm not hearing anything.
You're hearing it? No?
No.
Anything? Or no?
No, you're just seeing.
Oh gosh.
You need to go into your settings, and I
Uh-huh.
think you have to also share computer audio. Go into your audio settings. Right there. No, on the
On this.
on the application, audio settings. The cog wheel,
Right.
the gear wheel,
Uh-huh.
more.
I'm not seeing. No.
Oh, barely see see there. Go to the bottom of the screen, and you're on your you might have to minimize your thing and go to the bottom of your the Meet software, or click on your microphone kind of thing. All right, no, sorry. You see the three dots in the corner there?
Right.
Right. So you should be able to go to settings there, and then you should be able to see audio settings. Uh, yeah, I'm not seeing the same thing.
No.
Like that.
We had generally this works quite easily. So turn on background, turn on sound, change layout. Um,
I really have no idea how to do it.
I'm not seeing, honestly, not seeing where. Turn off microphone. Yeah.
What's the microphone? No. Useful audio. I don't know. I'm not seeing any.
I'm not seeing any. I'm checking on my end here. I'm not seeing any issue. I don't understand it. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Go back to, in terms of your share. Go back to the share icon where presenting, and you might get an option inside there to share share audio as well.
I'm not seeing anything.
Right, no, well, you'll have to stop and then come back in.
Okay. So present now. I'm just seeing an entire screen.
There should be like a sub thing to allow you to share audio as well. Hold on a second. Let me just try something again.
Now all I got was to share the entire screen.
Yeah, I've only seen that there myself. Um, yeah, this is funny, not funny.
Complicated.
Try it again and see if it picked up.
Let's see.
Check your
Anything?
volume level on the slide itself. Oh, sorry.
Right. Nothing?
Nope. Are you hearing audio on your end?
Yeah.
I'm not even hearing it coming out through your microphone.
No, I'm hearing it just fine.
Do you have the video on your laptop? Try playing it on your laptop itself.
I do have it. Hold on.
Yeah. Minimize your screen and minimize that screen or that application. Oh, you're using a Mac. Well, all right.
I had it downloaded yesterday. Right there. Okay, so let's see if this works. Still nothing?
Not hearing
No.
not a thing.
Oh, jeez. Well, I don't know. Because
I have a suggestion because I have a Mac as well. You want to raise the volume on the laptop itself, or is it up already?
It's all the way up.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I really don't know what to do.
I'm not a Mac person, so I can't suggest a solution.
Yeah.
My dear.
So.
Can you give us the gist of what the video is going to tell us about?
So I was not going to suggest that she play the video and I play the audio because I have the slide open up here.
Yeah, the timing
I
review.
think.
You can try it. You can try it.
Okay.
Right. So
yeah, you can start it.
Okay.
And you feel this is equivalent to what we picked out when we first. And you feel this is equivalent to what we picked out when we first placed the order?
Yes, absolutely. I think it'll hold up just as well as the original and the exact match.
To the expert. I appreciate your help.
That's what I'm here for. And thank you for being patient with delays. Some of these higher end materials that can be problematic.
Well, I think that takes care of everything. I'll touch base with you again in a few days.
All right. Thank you for your order. We appreciate the business.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Hey, Nancy. Yeah. I can't believe you can say all that to his face. What? Say what? Well, the delivery date for starters. It wasn't because the supplier messed up. Difference. Better to blame it on someone else rather than us, right? Us? Wasn't it you that just didn't get around to placing the order on time? In higher end materials, you substituted the cheapest stuff in our warehouse. You know the color is off and that it won't hold up as well. At the very least, you should give them the lower rate for that material. Whatever. Maybe. We'll see. I mean, it's more money for the company and a higher commission for me. It's a win-win. I just don't see how anybody's winning. Not the company and not you either.
So did you all hear the audio?
Yes, we did.
Okay. So basically, this video was an example of shifting blame to others. So now I pass you over to Tony.
Oh gosh, I played the video again. Okay, so I'm going to start with what is moral leadership. So according to the book, moral leadership is about distinguishing right from wrong and doing right and seeking the just, the honest, the good, and the right in its practice. Moral leadership uplifts people, enabling them to be better than they were without the leader. Leaders are responsible for building a foundation that strengthens and enriches the lives of organization members. And a good example of a good leader, in my opinion, is Howard Schultz. And I know not many people recognize the name, but he's the CEO of Starbucks. And he's also a very good example of someone who basically came from rags and worked his way up to riches. He's from the Brooklyn Projects, and he went from that to being a multi-billionaire, as we all know. He's responsible for a company with 22,000 stores that serves 75 million customers per week. And he announced that Starbucks would be covering college tuition for its US employee members working more than 20 hours per week who enroll in an online college degree program from Arizona State University. And at first glance, it might not seem like a very big deal, but the average tuition at for any degree at this university is $29,103. So if you just imagine he has to pay for just 10 employees, that's over $291,000. And he does this to ensure that his employees have a good education while also working as hard as they do at Starbucks every single day, serving so many people at a time. And it's just not something that he had to do, but he did it in order to just be a good leader and support his employees as best he could. So the characteristics of a moral leader. To be categorized as a moral leader, one must possess certain characteristics. So firstly, they must be honest about everything that occurs in the organization. By leading by example in this manner, his subordinates or employees would be more prone to trusting him or her, and hopefully in turn reciprocate his actions and not act dishonestly. Secondly, they should not be solely self-serving or selfish. An organization can't be run by one person. So therefore, for it to be run to its fullest potential, teamwork is required. So therefore, the leader can't or shouldn't be only thinking of himself, but the people he works with and what's best for the group or the organization. Thirdly, they must motivate others to develop themselves to their fullest potentials. So it's no secret that working with others can be draining at times, and life on a whole kind of leaves us demotivated. And a good moral leader tries his best to keep those feelings of demotivation and discouragement at bay. He should encourage his employees to better themselves to their fullest potential, and which not only encourages the employee but betters the company, which is something that Howard Schultz did by paying for his employees to finish their degrees at whatever level they decide, so they can also have that as well as a job. So they must be confident. And so there's a thin line between confident and conceited, but in terms of a leader, everyone wants a leader who believes in himself, but also believes in his work and his employees and his ability to lead them on the right path. And I think that's probably one of the most important characteristics a good leader should have. So immoral leadership. This type of leadership takes away from others in order to enhance oneself. So these type of leaders only care about themselves. They would willingly cross others to get whatever they desire, and they're only concerned with gaining power over those who he perceives to be lesser than himself. And I mean, the most popular example that I came across was Hitler. Everybody knows Hitler, so I don't really need to go much into that, but that's just one of them. So remember that people have a choice
Do you by
to
chance just one question? Do you have by chance have a more contemporary choice for
um
new world leader?
um well, as of right now, I mean, I could talk about one, but I feel like that's more, um, that would be a little bit biased. Like, I mean, I know people have their political beliefs and whatnot, but I mean, the most,
So you wouldn't agree that Trump might be a good example of
oh,
a
yeah, for
leader
sure.
who
Yeah, for
is
sure. But I just didn't really want to say it in case there's anybody who would disagree.
so you would agree therefore that you lack the moral courage then to stand up against leaders.
Um, to an extent,
That's
probably, if I'm being completely honest, I might, in a situation where I have to speak up against somebody who disagrees with something like that, I might just stay quiet in order to avoid conflict. But
ah,
I'm
okay.
also, I also strongly believe, that he is probably the most immoral person in today's society.
All right, but remember, part of being ethical and moral as a leader and as an individual is to not be afraid of making a statement and recognizing where somebody is doing exactly what you're telling them not to do.
Right.
So you can't be afraid, and you have safety in the class here. Nobody's going to attack you in that light. But I understand the conservative approach that you're utilizing. But there's a statement we always make. When good people, or well, it's I'm paraphrasing here. When good people stay quiet, that's how things evil thrives. I'm paraphrasing a bit of a quotation there.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and that's how people like Hitler in the past
Hmm.
rose to prominence and got that level of control
Right.
because people like yourself chose to remain silent when they were setting up uh, their their situation or setting themselves up and they did nothing, said nothing, and then ended up with the consequences of our silence and apathy. It's
Right.
something that we have to think about. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. So the next one, and a leader's capacity to make moral choices is related to the individual's level of moral development. So, what does this mean? What are the levels of moral development? And they are the first one is the pre-conventional, the second is the conventional, and third is the post-conventional. So I'll explain what these are. So the first one, at the first level, the pre-conventional level, individuals are egocentric and concerned with receiving external rewards and avoiding punishments. They obey authority and follow rules to avoid detrimental personal consequences or satisfy immediate self-interests. So the way I kind of remembered this was I kind of compared them to puppies. So they are at a certain level where they listen to anything the leader says. They're the type of employee that wants like a kind of pat on the back or validation from who's in charge, or to make them feel a little bit better about the job that they're doing and like what they're in at the workplace. You know what I mean? So that's how I remembered it. The second one, um, at level two, the conventional level, people learn to conform to the expectations of good behavior as defined by colleagues, family, friends, and society. At this level, um, people follow the rules and norms and values in the corporate culture. So this type of person follow they follow rules to the letter. They don't stray. They don't act based off of opinions. I feel like once there's a rule that is known, they will follow it, no matter what. So the third level is the principal level. At the post-conventional or principal level, leaders are guided by an internalized set of principles universally recognized as right or wrong. People at this level may even disobey rules or laws that violate these principles. So these individuals are, honestly, in my opinion, kind of cool. They have a set morals and set values that they have probably been raised with or obtained over the years in the workplace. And if anything violates that or goes against that, they don't do it. They will do what they believe in, no matter what push comes to shove. Once they have something that they believe in, their morals, their values, that comes above anything else. So impartially applying universal standards to resolve moral conflicts balances self-interest with a concern for others and for the common good. Research has consistently found a direct relationship between higher levels of moral development and more ethical behavior on the job, including less cheating, a tendency towards helpfulness to others, and the reporting of unethical or illegal acts known as whistleblowing. So now we move on to servant leadership. So this type of leadership can be best understood by comparing it to other approaches. Much of the thinking about leadership today implies that moral leadership encourages change towards turning followers into leaders, thereby developing their potential, rather than using a leadership position to control or limit people. Servant leadership represents a stage beyond stewardship, where leaders give up control and make a choice to serve employees. So this is basically saying that this type of leadership kind of trains people to start from the bottom and work their way up to become leaders themselves. So authoritarian management is the traditional understanding of leadership. So it's that leaders are good managers who direct and control their people. Leaders set the strategy and goals as well as methods and rewards for attaining them. Subordinates are given no voice in creating meaning and purpose for their work and no discretion as to how they perform their jobs. So basically, if you're an employee and this organization follows this type of management, you come in, you do your job, and that's it. You don't get a say in what happens. The ones who are at a higher level, at the highest level, have all the control, all the say, and you just have to do what they tell you to do. No questions asked. So participative management. So since the 1980s, many organizations have made efforts to actively involve employees. Leaders have increased employee participation through employee suggestion programs, participation groups, and quality circles. 70% of the US corporations have adopted some kind of employee participation program, but these programs don't redistribute power and authority to lower level workers. The mindset is still paternalistic in the top leaders, and the top leaders determine purpose and goals and make final decisions and decide rewards. So in this type, yes, there's more interaction with the employees. They probably they're just a little bit more lenient. There's a little more leniency with them, but at the end of it all, those in charge are still in charge. They still have the final say, even though you may be able to bring up a suggestion here or there. But if they don't like it, they don't have to do it because they have the final say, basically. And that's what this one is. So stewardship is a pivotal shift in leadership thinking. Stewardship supports the belief that leaders are deeply accountable to others, as well as to the organization, without trying to control others, define meaning and purpose for others, or take care of others. So this means, hold on one second. Right. So these types, they don't believe that they are the heads, really. They just kind of give a voice to everyone, no matter their rank in the organization. So the savant leader. Savant leadership is leadership upside down. Savant leaders transcend self-interest to serve the needs of others and help others grow and develop, and provide opportunity for others to gain materially and emotionally. So these type of leaders don't see themselves as leaders per se. They think that their job is to help the ones that work for them. They are trying to better their employees in as best as they could. They want an all-round growth in all ways possible within the organization. So Greenleaf's servant leadership model. Sorry. So the first level, I don't know if I should call it a level, but is putting service before self-interest. So the desire to help others takes precedence over the desire to achieve formal leadership, to achieve a formal leadership position, or to attain power and control over others. The second is to listen first to affirm others. The savant leader tries to figure out the will of the group, and then further it however he can. The leader doesn't impose his or her will on others. By understanding others, the leader can contribute to the best course of action. Third is to inspire trust by being trustworthy. Savant leaders gain trust because they give everything away, and their trust allows others that are working with them to flourish. So the last part is nourish others and help them to become whole. So savant leaders help others to find the power of human spirit and accept their responsibilities. Being close to people also means that leaders make themselves vulnerable to others and are willing to show their pain and humanity. So savant leadership can mean something as simple as encouraging others in their personal development and helping them understand the larger purpose in their work. So the leaders bookshelf. There are 3 circles in the moral courage, and that's principles, danger, and endurance. So principles is basically when you're forced with a choice, leaders can assess the situation and determine whether it requires moral courage, and then determine the specific values that need to be upheld. The danger level is the second key to moral courage, and it lies inaccurately assessing the degree of risk. So basically, they look at a situation, they try to look for the best possible outcome, and basically assess if it's worth the risk. And endurance, a leader can understand what key values are at stake, assess the risks involved, and believe in upholding moral principles, yet still lack the courage to do it. So this can easily be linked to the confidence points that I made when I was listing the characteristics of a moral leader. A leader needs to be confident in order to do his best to lead his company, lead the employees, and to get them to be to lead them on the right path and to have them fulfill their truest potential. So I will now pass you on to Nicola. Good night again, everyone. So, leadership courage. In order to stand up for moral principles and resist temptations, leaders need to find courage. Let us consider this. To laugh is to risk appearing the fool. To cry is to risk appearing sentimental. To reach out is to risk involvement. And to expose our feelings is to risk exposing your true self. But risk must be taken because the greatest hazard is not taking a risk. Those who risk nothing, do nothing, and have nothing. What is courage? So, according to DAFT, courage has more than one meaning. Courage is the ability to step forward through fear. Courage does not mean that doubt and fear are absent, but it is the ability to act in spite of them being present. Courage also means accepting responsibility. Apart from creating opportunities and generating ideas, a leader should take personal responsibility for failures and mistakes instead of avoiding blame or shifting it to others. A good example of this is David Potrock, who was fired as the CEO of Charles Schwab. He admits that he had to resist a strong urge to blame everyone else for their downfall, and which was really his downfall. And then he bravely found the courage and publicly accepted responsibility and apologized for pointing the fingers. Courage means nonconformity. This means breaking traditions, initiating changes, and reducing boundaries. Another thing to consider is Clive Warlow, who took over as the president of Volkswagen AG's American division. When he came and he took over, the subsidiary had slow sales and the workers had lost confidence because it was hard. It was hard. The company was accustomed to strict hierarchy and control, but he found that the style clearly wasn't efficient. He allowed area managers to make independent decisions, like if they wanted to give bonuses and time off and stuff. He enabled leaders to learn from their current situation and do better in the future. So instead, when they didn't make their quota, instead of firing them, he allowed them to look at ways in which they could do better. The company in turn made an impressive comeback. When he left the company, it was in a stronger position than he had met it because he had the courage to go against the grain. Courage means pushing beyond the comfort zone. When people go beyond the comfort zone, they encounter an internal wall of fear. This wall of fear could be different things depending on the situation. It could be a fear of dying, a fear of doing bad in the course, a fear of failing in school, different things. Courage is needed most in order to overcome this. Courage means asking for what you want and saying what you think. You must be able to speak your mind even when you know others may disagree with you and they may even deride you. You must be able to ask for what you want and set boundaries. You should say no to unreasonable demands from others, and you should ask for what you want or need to help achieve the vision. Courage means fighting for what you believe in. It doesn't mean doing battle to destroy the weak, feed one's ego, or harm others, but it simply means doing what you believe is right, even when this goes against the status quo and possibly opens you up to failure and personal sacrifice. Next slide. So, not this one, before. One missing. Okay. How does courage apply to moral leadership? So, acting like a moral leader requires personal courage. One will need to look within themselves and do an honest self analysis where they can acknowledge their limitations and abilities. This is asking yourself what is the goal that we want to achieve, how we think we would reach there, and what is the characteristics we need to have within ourselves in order to reach the goal. Opposing unethical conduct requires courage. So, Tony talked about whistleblowing, and just going to give you all a definition of it again. That is where the employee discloses of illegal, immoral, or unethical practices in the organization. So, in order to do this, it is very risky for employees because they have serious consequences that they may face, which is losing their jobs or being ostracized by co-workers or even being transferred to an undesirable position. So, in order to make that step to oppose unethical conduct, you need to have courage. Apparently, a slide was missing. So, I now reached the finding personal courage. Sorry. Anyways, finding personal courage. In order to find personal courage, we must first believe in a higher purpose. That is what we are fighting to achieve. Simple as that. The second thing that we need to do is draw strength from others. That is being able to lean on others when needed. In order to get something done, especially within a team, we know that we can't do it by ourselves. So at the points where we need help, we need to ask for help and lean on others to help us. The third thing is welcoming failure. That is being at peace with the worst possible outcome in order to move forward. So, like I said before, for whistleblowing, the worst possible outcome is losing your job or going to an undesirable position. You have to be at peace with that, like comfortable with knowing that can happen in order to do what you need to do. And then the last thing is harnessing frustration and anger. So, anger in moderate amounts is a healthy emotion because it provides the energy to move forward. The challenge to harness anger and use it properly is what drives courage. That's it. Thank you for listening to our presentation. There was an exercise too, but I excluded it because it needed to be done and revisited.
So that's it. Let's go back to presenting.
Right. So anybody has any questions they want to ask? No? Okay.